body a lot too. It seems like over the last few years, getting leaner and
That's what a haircut will do for you, is what it is. He looks cleaned up. No, yeah, you're right. You're right. And he's taking his nutrition seriously. You know, he always had it. He's had a good background of people that have taught him that, but it's hard to maintain that sometimes. You're right. In terms of the way he's taking care of his body, taking care of his mind, sleeping, all that good stuff that matters to pros, he's starting to make that part of his habits. And so you're right. What you notice is absolutely correct. But talking to him in moments of conflict, in moments where things can get emotional, and watching him be steady and calm and making good decisions, that's the best improvement he's made. So his body's right. But he came in here with a lot of ability. And there's been, this, that. There's been things that hold him out. I'm trying to get all these guys to understand your greatest ability is your availability. And as a D lineman, we all feel good right now, right? And I tell them, take inventory. This is the last time you're going to feel good for the rest of the year, because defensive linemen have to play through the owies. Now, injury is different. You can't play through injury, but you play through pain, and that's going to be your everyday.
Beyond like assignment soundness, or where is he skill-wise? Like against the run, or?
Yeah, it's definitely against the run, and I would say even the detail of his hands and his rush game. Yeah. He's always been quick, and we saw him, quick club, use his feet to move. Yeah. Here's another component too that kind of goes underappreciated: his ability to stay up. See, Omar has been taught to be the Tasmanian devil, right? And so it's kind of like my sons do hockey, and the hardest thing is to be on the edges of your skates. As soon as they get on their edges, they fall. Well, Omar kind of was playing on the edges of his feet. He's a little pigeon-toed, even though that's what makes him so explosive. A little pigeon-toed, so it makes him explosive going vertical. But edges is where the game is played, and when he's on edges, when his feet are turned, he was slipping. And so getting him to understand widening his base and playing with a wider base and playing with lower hips, not so out of control, but balanced even when he's on edges, that's been big time too. And to watch him stay up in those positions and then come out the other side with all that explosion that he already had. But playing the run for sure, the detail of his hands and pass rush, and the game slowed down a little bit for him too. In the springtime, he's catching, like LD, who's our best offensive lineman, would come up to me and he's like, hey, what do you see? Like, what are you telling Omar about my set? Yeah. He thought we were timing up his set. He thought we knew exactly what he was like. I'm switching it up, but he keeps catching my hand. Well, that's Omar getting better at putting his hands where we teach him to be, and having that hand in place and then reacting to it. And it all being slower for him. And I'm trying to tell LD, it's like, I don't care what you do, he's going to do that sometimes because he's figuring it out too. Yeah. And so, LD being such a good kid and being such a meticulous pro, trying to fix his game, it was kind of cool to watch them go at it. But, he's more balanced, but the whole game slowing down to him, so his reaction's a little bit more aggressive, as opposed to being up the field and not seeing anything. There's just like a big daze. And, those guys can get hit and knocked on their butts because they don't see anything. His eyes are right, his body position's right. That's been a big key for him.
His decision to enter the portal and come back, I'm sure that you guys had conversations, and it was a lot to do with the development and the opportunity. So, is there anything you can say about that part of it?
Yeah, I think it says a lot about the kid. As a person and as a coach, you don't want to make these things personal, because that's the hardest thing to do. It is. That transfer portal becomes the business aspect of this thing. So it's hard for me because I want to separate myself, but I care about these guys. But on a personal level, it meant the world to me that my impact on him, what he thought that I could continue to do for him, and him caring for what we've built here, it means the world to me as a person, man. I get choked up thinking about it because didn't have to do it, and he did. He took a pay cut, right, when he said, I'm coming back, and didn't have anything guaranteed, but the only thing that was guaranteed is that we continue on the track that we were on, and that's where he wanted to be. He talked to coaches and thought, they're going to mess my game up. And Coach Rod and this coaching staff and my teammates have helped me get to this spot, and I think he's right. He's on the trajectory to be a hell of a player. We made the right decision, but you guys know how this thing works. Those guys usually don't, and it means the world to me on a personal level that he would do that for me. It really does. And for his teammates, And so, I'm still going to coach the hell out of him. That wasn't going to change. And I told him I love you, but I don't mean I'm going to change anything. But at the end of the day, he and I are closer for it. It feels good as a coach to be appreciated by your players. You know how much you care for them. And you hope they care as much about you in return. And guys can say it, and guys can prove it. And he proved it. And I think that's a really, really, I'm honored, really.
We saw BJ last week. He looks bigger, stronger. What does year 2 entail for him?
That's the biggest thing is being a 3-down player. He was a 1-down player, and that's the thing. BJ will run into the Great Wall of China and expect to come out the other side. And so I got to be smart with where we use him. But the thing about it is when you got a dynamic player like that, you got to use him. And it's one of those things where I don't want to stunt his growth. That's my biggest pet peeve is overcoaching, overprotecting is as bad as just laying him out there and throwing him to the wolves. There's a balance to it. I got to find that balance, but to be a 3-down player, that dude, it'll be awesome because when he's out there, good things happen. And Donnie's a big fan of his from the jump. Johnny's a guy who was pushing me. Like, he loved him. He loved him from the jump. And so now that he's the coordinator, it's one of those deals where we want more BJs sometimes. And so I love it that we have one more BJs, a 1-2 punch, guys that are dynamic, have a lot of ability, firecrackers, guys that can make big plays. So I love it. And if he can be that guy on 3 downs, we're going to be a lot better.
You didn't get to work with Nesta in the spring, but come back. So did that slow his assimilation at all? Do you think he's ready to go from the jump? Background?
Well, it won't be. That's what camp is for. And to be honest with you, it does, but not enough to where it's going to be an issue. That guy could play for us. I mean, that's a guy's a plug-and-play guy. But you guys should know by now, working with me, like good doesn't fly, and he can be really, really good. He can be a great player. So that's where I want to get to with him is this camp. It's a balancing act because I want to put him out there and get him reps and get him there, but I don't want to hurt him. And so we can't just throw him out there and put him in position to get hurt. We got to be smart with it. But yeah, we are a little bit behind, and not enough to where I think it's going to affect his ability to help us, but to where it's going to affect his ability to be everything he needs to be where he wants to be, because he wants to impact his team, and he wants to take his talents to the next level when he's done. And I want these guys to get everything they can out of this experience, to be a great player here, and to showcase their talents for the next level. That's what it's about. So if he wants to do that, we got to get some work in once we get in. So it's going to take some extra film work. We're going to have to do some pre-practice stuff, but we're going to have to be intelligent about it and plus, again, this might be a deal where he gets his groove going early in the season, and by 4 or 5 games into the season, okay, now we're catching steam. But to put too much on these guys coming in and expectations, to me, I like to throw that out the window and just affect on the day-to-day progress. A little bit behind, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's anything that's going to hurt him if we do the things right.
A year ago, you kind of foreshadowed Anthony being one of the most improved guys on the team, Joe Moore's improvement. Is Guerin the guy this year? Anybody else in that?
Yeah, and I still mention Joe because I think he took that jump as a pass rusher, and you saw that dude come out and really do some great stuff. But as a run defender, he had a lot of room. So it hurts when you got a great guy that makes an impact in the passing game, but you can't put him out there on first, second down because he's not going to play the run like you want it to. That's where Joe can really be an every down guy, and he's put in the work. So I expect Joe to be that guy. And then Guerin is coming up as well in terms of a guy that I probably saw a year ago and saying, it'd probably be another year from now. And he took it away from me. Like, he's made such great progress in the spring, but that's where Guerin is. Guerin can go out now and rush, and he's a little bit behind in the run game, but I don't put anything past Guerin because he continually outproduces my expectations for him. When I put a benchmark to get him there, he gets just a little bit past that benchmark. And so I know my expectations are high, but I don't want to smother these kids with, you're going to be all pro and you're going to be, that's too much, man. I want to see progress. That dude always does everything in his ability to get there. So I mean, by mid-year, I expect him to be starter quality, and I expect him to be somebody that's vying for those type of reps. Because if I did it now, we got the 4 guys that I want to be starters. That starter stuff is overrated. You should put them out there, and it should look like the Sun Devil defense. And Garen's that fifth guy. Barron's on the bus, and he's a guy that I expect to get in that mix by the time we hit to mid-season. And again, he's an awesome kid, loves it out here, and he just keeps. Every time I look at him, I'm like, damn, he's got another little like bump on your chest or something. Like, gets a little bit more put together every time I see him, and just I'm really proud of his progress. I just don't want to stunt him. You know, there's going to be ups and downs when you're this young. I don't want to stunt him by putting too much on him that you got to be this right now. Just keep doing what you're doing, keep contributing, and have that foot on the gas pedal. We'll be all right.
A year ago, I know you thought that you had enough depth to handle whatever they threw at you, and then guys go down, and then it seems like this year you just like loaded up bodies. Like, hey, we'll just take another JUCO defensive tackle.
Hey man, learn from your mistakes, right?
So
the worst thing I did was say it. That's what I did. Is I jinxed it when I acknowledged the depth, and then I realized there's no such thing. You can never have as much depth. Yeah. That's why these big schools are buying all these cats. They're just loading up the bus, baby. They're just buying as many as they can. But we've had to do it the hard way. We've had to bring guys up and help them develop. So I'm super proud of the fact, yeah, we got a bunch of dudes in here, but you know, those guys you know, there was 2 years ago, you couldn't sit here and say, oh, Anthony Cooper, Mike Matus. I said those names and people kind of said, what, you know? And here we are 2 years later, and they're contributors or guys that are making it happen. So that's the biggest thing, is there'll never be enough, man. And that's why we can't go into this camp and say, all right, we're just going to depend on these other guys, and we're going to depend on them. Because what happens is, we did develop a culture in our room. There's no golden caps. So I don't care how good you are, how many stars you had. We're not going to coddle you and make you the focus of what we do. You are part of the pack, and the pack has to be the strongest. The pack's going to be is how strong the weakest link's going to be. So we have to pick each other up, and we have to encourage each other. So that's the thing about just adding dudes into the mix with a great culture, great people, and they know the technique now. I'm telling them, if I get hit by a bus on Friday, you guys are going to ball out on Saturday because you guys already know this stuff, right? Now, you know, will it be as good? No, I'm just kidding. But no, it's theirs. It's not mine anymore, and that's the beautiful part of it. Is I still bring my expertise to fix the little things and control the room and all that stuff, but they own it. They own it now. So that depth that we've created, and we got to get guys there. We got dudes like, you know, Robbie showing a lot of good stuff, but can Robbie play and start for us for 12 games? Not right now. So hopefully by the time we line up against NAU, Robbie is starter quality. Same thing with Jaleel. Same thing with everybody who's going to be a part of this. Ahmad. We want those dudes to be starter quality, right? And that's where those guys right now, we have bodies, we have starter quality. And so when you got 16 dudes that can start for you, that's what I'm just going to aim for that from now on. And when we get 16, I'm going to be trying to get 17, 18, and 19 in. So after last year, I learned my lesson. I'll never be satisfied with depth. They will always want more.
Steal rides from the other coaches on your side of the ball.
Brother, I'm telling you, man, we're going to get them.